8 minutes of crazy geography facts. The US state of Rhode Island is in fact not an island. Greenland and Iceland should have their names switched because only 11% of Iceland is actually covered in ice, but over 80% of Greenland is covered in ice. The continent of Asia is home to the largest country in the entire world, the two most populous countries in the entire world, the five smartest countries in the entire world, and the world's largest democracy. And the continent of Asia is the largest continent in the entire world, spanning over 44.58 million kilometers or 17.21 million miles. And the continent of Asia is the most populous continent in the entire world, having 4.3 billion people. In fact, it has more people than the rest of the world combined. The countries of USA and Canada and North America have the system known as the Great Lakes System, which accounts for 21% of the fresh water supply in the world. You probably know that USA is the strongest country in the world by military, but did you know Canada is the second largest country in the world? In fact, there's a park in Canada called the Wood Buffalo National Park, and this park is in fact bigger than each and every single one of these countries. But that's not the biggest park in the world. The biggest park in the world is called the National Greenland Park, and it's bigger than all of these countries. And it's bigger than every country in Europe, except Russia, of course. It may be no surprise to you that the United States of America spends most in their military in the entire world, but it may be surprising that they spend more than Europe, Africa, and South America combined. You can throw in Oceania too. Did you know the state of Alaska is the most eastern and western state in the entire world? The continent of North America also has won the most Olympic gold medals in the entire world, winning over 1,440 gold medals. And the continent of Africa is home to the youngest country in the entire world, South Sudan, which got its independence only at 2011. Africa is the continent with the most countries, having over 54 countries, and the Central African Republic is one of only two countries that uses the currency of Bitcoin as an official currency. Africa is home to the richest man in history, Mansa Musa. He had a net worth of $347 billion because he owned the Kingdom of Mali. Africa is also home to the richest man as of 2022, Elon Musk. He has a net worth of $200 billion because he owns companies like Tesla. Even though the continent of Europe has fought the most wars in the entire world, it's actually the most peaceful continent in the entire world. The continent of Europe is by far the safest continent in the entire world and the happiest continent in the entire world, having some of the safest countries in the entire world and some of the happiest countries in the entire world. Even though the continent of Europe is the second smallest continent in the entire world, only being after Antarctica itself, it has over 50 countries. And 28 of those 50 countries are part of NATO, and 27 of those 50 countries are part of the EU. The map of Italy, like the outline, kind of looks like a football player hitting a football. Even though the country of Greenland is technically owned by North America, it's actually an overseas territory of the country Denmark. The continent of Europe is home to the smallest country in the entire world, Vatican City. Vatican City only spans about 0.49 kilometers or 0.17 miles. And Vatican City has the least amount of people as a country in the entire world, having only 800 people. The country of Iceland has literally no mosquitoes. The continent of Europe is also home to some of the most visited countries in the entire world, and the continent of Europe is the most visited continent in the entire world yearly. In fact, it also has more visitors than the entire rest of the world combined. The continent of South America is home to the Amazon rainforest, which produces about 20% of the world's fresh water. And the Amazon rainforest is home to the Amazon River, which is the second biggest river in the entire world, spanning over 6,992 kilometers or 4,345 miles. South America is the continent with the least countries, having only 12 countries. And South America is also the continent with the least amount of people, having only 434 million people. Chile is the longest country in the entire world from north to south. The South American country of Bolivia is the home of potatoes. Now, let me answer one of the most asked geography questions ever. Is Australia a country or a continent? Well, you probably heard these 7 words before. Australia is a country and a continent. But what does this actually mean? How can a place be a country and a continent? Well, there's a continent called Oceania. There's no question that the continent of Oceania is, well, a continent. But did you know that Oceania is actually also called Australia? So my theory is there are 2 different types of Australias. This one is a country and this one is a continent. That's why Australia is a continent and a country. Now, let's get on to the facts about the continent known as Oceania. It's pretty well known that Australia has more kangaroos than humans. But do you know that New Zealand has more sheep than humans? The country of New Zealand is also home to the longest town name in the world. The island country of Nauru is the most obese country in the entire world. The island country of Nauru is also the only country in the entire world to not have a capital state. Oceania is the continent with the least amount of people, having only 43 million people. The island nation of Papua New Guinea speaks the most languages in the entire world, speaking 850 languages. The continent of Antarctica is the highest, driest, coldest, and windiest continent on Earth. And the continent of Antarctica produces about 70% of the Earth's fresh water. Even though 99% of Antarctica is covered in ice, it still gets more visitors yearly than Moldova, San Marino, and Liechtenstein. Okay, I've finished telling you facts about all the 7 continents, but there's still time left in this video, so I'm going to tell you facts about different countries. For example, did you know that even though there are 8 billion people on this planet Earth, there are over 7.2 billion people, that means 90% of those 8 billion, that live on the northern hemisphere of the Earth. Here are the countries with the highest number of prisoners. Number 1, the United States. The United States of America has over 2 million prisoners, or 629 prisoners per 100,000 people. The number 2 is China. China has over 1.6 million prisoners, or 113 prisoners per 100,000 people. Number 3 is Brazil. Brazil has over 811,000 prisoners, or 339 prisoners per 100,000 people.